Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are we getting on? So, Bethesda have dropped Fallout First on us yesterday, and it caused the internet to explode in its usual fashion. So, we've got quite a bit to cover today. We've got patch 14 as well that we're going to have a look at in not as much detail as usual, because we've got a lot to cover with Fallout First. But I will, of course, put a link to the full patch notes down in the description so you can peruse at your leisure if you'd like to. So, Fallout First, it's private servers and a number of other perks as well. But it does come with a sizable fee attached to it. So as we covered last week, we knew that there was going to be a fee attached to this. The major reason for that being that private servers require greater infrastructure. Bethesda rent that infrastructure from Amazon Web Services. Now they're going to need more. Amazon are going to charge them more. It's kind of the way these things work. As they are a business, and like all businesses, they need to make money. And frankly, if you look at them as people as well, they need to make ends meet, pay their bills, that sort of thing as well. Some of that cost is unfortunately being passed on to us. Unfortunately, that's just the way the world works. There has been quite the backlash over this though, which is not hugely surprising. But with most things like this, knee-jerk reactions often overlook the details and are not always all that accurate. And I have been guilty of this for the last 24 hours as well, so hands up there on that one. But I've had a little bit of time to actually look at this in some more detail and think about it. And on balance, I think you can argue whether or not it's good value all day long if you really want, but in relation to the other paid-for benefits that currently exist in Fallout 76, this is consistent. So if you actually have a look at the Atomic Shop and the purchase prices for atoms at the moment, you can see that we've got different tiers available. You pay X amount, get X amount of atoms. Based on the 1,650 you get as part of Fallout First every month, it sits somewhere in the middle. It actually works out on atoms alone as being not great value, but when you factor in the additional perks, the scrap box, etc., private worlds and so on, it actually brings that up a bit to a much more reasonable proposition, probably slightly better than buying atoms on their own, actually. So, on balance, it's not so bad. Doesn't necessarily mean you want to be shelling out every month for this. They vary from person to person. I've got mixed feelings at the moment. Not quite sure whether or not I want to do it or not. Interestingly, I think the least valuable part and least useful part of Fallout First, funnily enough, is the private servers. I'll have a look in a tad more detail in just a second, but for me, I've ended up on empty, regular adventure mode servers anyway, and to be honest, doesn't really enhance your gameplay experience. Same thing's going to be true with a private server. Particularly, having other players running around is fine, doesn't cause any problems for me. You'll avoid the occasional griefer, but it's not that many really. It's not a big problem in-game in my experience, so it's neither here nor there on that to me. You get a little bit of hassle around public workshops, that's about it. But you don't get the player vending system, for example. Yes, you can bring other people into your private world and use player vending and trade between them, but you've got a much smaller pool of people to draw from, and therefore much less options of things to buy. So you're losing out on that by having a private server or being the only one on a server. Of course, you can jump back to a regular adventure mode server if you want to and then take advantage of it, but that's an extra step, so something to consider. I think until mods drop anyway, it's not really going to be worthwhile. We're also seeing in a second that the existing rule set for adventure mode is consistent in a private world as well, so you can't build in a private world anywhere you couldn't build in an adventure mode world at the moment, which was going to be the biggest bonuses from having a private server until mods come out anyway. And that's not there, so basically that benefit is gone. So until mods come out, I think private worlds are frankly not really worth it. The rest of it, whether or not it's worth paying for is a different thing. I think as things evolve and they fine-tune the benefits and mods come out, things like that, it's going to get better over time, but right now I could see why you might want to delay. As I say, I haven't made my mind up yet, so we'll have to see how this actually goes. Okay folks, so one thing I've just noticed whilst I'm editing this, quite a few people are comparing Fallout First and Elder Scrolls Online Plus, the Elder Scrolls Online subscription service, pointing out that that's cheaper and that you get more for it. That's only partially true in a sense. Unlike Fallout, ESO's additional perks don't cost Bethesda a great deal more to maintain, or ZeniMax Online rather. With private worlds, additional server infrastructure is required, so that's going to cost them significantly more to maintain than the perks that are added with ESO. So, a significant portion of the difference there is probably the cost Bethesda are having to absorb for basically buying extra server infrastructure. So that will be worth considering, I think, on the side. So missed that on the first run through, so I thought I'd drop it in here. Okay, where were we? So let's have a look at what they're offering and what the details actually are for the moment. So, quick overview, private worlds, scrapbox. This is cool and has brought up some angst, shall we say. It's unlimited storage for crafting components in a separate container from your stash, which is good, handy. Basically, it's a free stash for all your scrap. So, that's kind of cool. Basically gives you more storage space, essentially giving you a much bigger stash. Kind of. When you actually look at my stash, for example, you find that the amount of space taken up in the stash by junk is actually a relatively small proportion of the stash, so it's not as big a benefit as it would appear. But, nice to have. Survival tent is like a mini secondary camp that gives you an additional fast travel point and workbenches and so on and so forth, but it's tied to the same rule set in a way as the existing camp system. You can't just put it anywhere, you are a bit limited, but it's like having a second portable camp. So, I don't think you can build there either. I think whether or not you can drop it in an existing camp and expand using that, I don't know. We'll have to look into that. But additional fast travel point with a stash, sleeping bag, and possibly crafting benches as well. From the picture we've got down here, it looks like you've definitely got a cooking station, which is handy. But beyond that, we'll have to see. Convenient, but not massive. The atom grant, well, getting 1,650 extra atoms every month is nice, because, I mean, there's always something I want to buy, and I'm always something that I haven't got enough atoms for, so having a reliable income of atoms every month for membership is not a bad thing. It's nice to have. As I say, it's reasonably consistent with the existing pricing scheme, certainly when you factor in the additional benefits as well. Ranger armor outfit, it's another costume, is what it is. Icons and emotes, also nice to have, not really a big deal though. So, bit more detail. Private worlds. Community has been asking for the ability to play in private worlds since before the launch of Fallout 76, and we're very excited to announce that they're coming to the game with Fallout First. It's live as of yesterday. How you use your private world is completely up to you, within the bounds of the existing rules. Invite up to 7 of your friends, so total of 8 players maximum per private world, to join you in taking on the dangers of post-apocalyptic West Virginia, or play completely solo. As I say, not really improving your gameplay in my opinion. Others will have different opinions, I'm sure, but there we go. If that is something you want to be doing and you don't want to see other people running around your game, great. But personally, I don't think it enhances the experience. All gameplay remains the same from adventure mode, and all characters entering a Fallout First private world must be existing characters. So you've got to create your character as per normal and then bring them over. You can hop between the two from the look of this. So you can level up in a private world, bounce back over to a public world with your character, do whatever you want to do in public, and then go back private again if you want to. But you do have to start off adventure mode. Not really a big deal. I'd imagine once you're out of the vault, you're good to go. So, only the owner of a private world is required to be a Fallout First member. So, your friends haven't got the membership, you can still invite them in. There are a couple of caveats, but you can bring them in, which is fine. Once you're in-game, head to your private world, open your social menu, and start inviting them in. You can also form a squad outside of a private world, and then bring the whole lot over to your private world. That, of course, limits you to 3 other people, but then you can add more later as well. Should the owner of a private world leave, the private world will stay active as long as one other player in the world is a Fallout First member. So if another member of your group is a member, you can leave and they can keep playing in that private world. However, if the other people are not members and you leave, then they'll get a timer which will count down, allow them however long it ends up being to finish what they're doing, and then kick them at the end of the timer. Which is reasonable, I think. But the fact that it doesn't have to be the owner who's in the world in order to maintain it is quite a cool little feature. But beyond that, as I say, I've already covered what I think on the pros and cons of having a private server as it currently stands. So, private worlds will continue to evolve with new features such as expanded building areas, increased camp budgets, and workshop persistence. Basically, that being your public workshops. So you'll be able to log out, log back in, and not have to recapture the workshop and rebuild everything. But that's not there just yet, so on down the line they will get more worthwhile, but for now, maybe not. We've received a lot of questions about playing Fallout 76 with mods, and this too is something we're excited to add in future. So it is coming, takes a little bit longer. Once mod support comes out, I almost certainly will start using private worlds, because content, more things to build, yada yada yada. But for now, it's something we've got to wait for. Obviously, you can go with unofficial, unsupported mods via the Nexus if you're on PC, but that does then shut out console players, so it's not something I will be doing until I can also include console players. Once mods come out for consoles, I will of course be just using mods that are available across all platforms, so that's what I'm waiting on. So, 1,650 monthly atoms and Atomic Shop sales. With Fallout First membership, you'll receive 1,650 atoms using the Atomic Shop on anything you want. So, based on the £10 to £12 a month current fee, that's actually not the best deal in the world, but you're getting the other stuff as well, which kind of brings it back up. So not too bad. And you get it every month, so that's handy. Once you add in the fact you get exclusive sales as well, so your costs will come down, it makes it considerably more valuable, I think, which is cool. Depends how much this actually is. I haven't seen because I haven't subscribed to it yet and so on and so forth, but we'll see on down the line. But things will cost you less. You're getting a reasonable number of atoms every month and additional benefits as well. As I say, it's at least consistent with the existing pricing scheme, although it may not appear to be on first glance. So I think that's probably a good thing. Bethesda would, in my opinion, have done well to make this clearer first, and they should probably have said months ago that if we're going to do private servers, the costs are going to go up for us, so we're going to have to pass that on, i.e. renting server space, stuff like that. They should probably have said this months ago, and then it doesn't come as such a shock to so many people, and less of the negative backlash, but it is what it is. We could also probably have figured that out for ourselves, and a lot of people didn't. I kind of overlooked it myself, so can't really blame people on that, but, you know, we have to live in the real world and all that. So, as a Fallout First member, you'll have access to exclusive discounts in the Atomic Shop, so not only are you getting bonus atoms every month, you get discounts on some sweet items too. Yeah, cool. So the scrap box. This is probably one of the best things in this package, and definitely one of the more controversial ones as well. Although, when you actually look at it in a sort of step back and take a bigger look at it, I think, it's not as bad as it might appear, or not as impactful as it might appear. So you gain access to your private scrap box. This is in addition to your stash. Use the scrap box to store all of your crafting components so they aren't taking up space in your stash. Scrap box has unlimited storage, which is great, so no need to worry about picking and choosing when it comes to hoarding scrap. So this obviously implies, because you can actually take this over to adventure mode as well, not just in private worlds, that they've managed to do some cool stuff on the back end to allow you to have more stuff without impacting the servers, which is cool. There's an angle of, is this stuff pay to win, which I'll go into more detail in just a moment, but I don't think it really is. It's more like pay for convenience, which is, they're getting close to that line, but I don't think it quite crosses it yet, but we'll have a look at that in a sec. The survival tent is something else that is, again, close to this line. Drop the new survival tent, quickly set up a forward operating base when you're roughing it out in the wilderness during your next adventure. Survival tent comes complete with a stash, sleeping bag, scrap box, cooking station, and an instrument. To help you wind down after your day of exploring Appalachia. So it's a convenient mini camp that you can chuck down anywhere you can normally camp without affecting your existing one, your main camp. So it's a convenient secondary one. It also means if you're travelling between two locations, say you want your main camp near the White Spring for player vending and access to the vendors at the White Spring, you can do that, and then if you're doing a lot of stuff in a particular area, say the Mire or the Cranberry Bog or something, you can drop your survival tent down and quick travel between the two for no extra fee, which is nice. So, looking at these, as you may have seen online, there's been a big kind of, is this pay to win thing? Are Bethesda breaching what they said 18 months ago about all extra content being free and stuff? And I think for the most part, a lot of this negativity is coming from people who don't play the game, who enjoy the taking a crap on Fallout 76 and Bethesda thing. I think most of us are a bit more reasonable than that, probably most of us watching this video anyway. Looking at this without that particular hat on, I don't think it is really pay to win, it's pay for convenience. If you look at other games with a subscription model, you can generally get extra benefits the further up the paid tiers you go. you have a look at, say, Star Wars The Old Republic that I'm playing on the side at the moment, if you're free to play, you get base game plus, actually they've just added a couple of expansions to it, which is cool. But you do get restrictions on how much money you can have. It'd be effectively caps, but, you know. And then other restrictions on fast travel, things like that. If you pay a little bit of money, you get a number of those restrictions lifted or moved to a higher level so they don't impact you quite as quickly. And if you go full subscription, you get everything. So I think World of Warcraft works on much the same principle, and I'd imagine other games do too. So it's not really pay to win, it's pay for not having your hands quite so tightly tied. If you don't want to do this, your existing game won't be impacted at all either, which is cool. So in that regard, it's kind of an entirely optional extra. So regarding the pay to win thing as well, how much can a game with only very, very limited PvP have a pay-to-win model at all? All you're doing is getting a slight convenience advantage in adventure mode. The only PvP in there is basically at workshops, and it doesn't impact those. There's nuclear winter, but it doesn't impact that either. So in terms of actually giving you a competitive advantage against other players, it gives you convenience, but not competitive advantage. So I don't think that's a really legitimate argument either. The other thing I have seen is people complaining that Bethesda said back in the day that all expansions and stuff were going to be free, or included in the purchase of the game, depending on how you want to look at it. Same thing, really. And there are people saying that this is them going back on that promise. It's not, in short. It's an additional few bonuses that you can pay for if you want. You're still getting all the expansions included in your base game purchase, all but free. Anyway, so that won't change. It's just some extra nice-to-haves that, particularly with the private worlds, cost Bethesda more money to provide, and therefore they're passing on some of that cost, along with a load of extra benefits. So I don't think saying they're going back on their promise is even remotely true, to be honest. I think it's just people looking for something to moan about, as usual. So, on the other hand, I think it's fair to say most people who are playing this game on a regular basis are probably a little more level-headed and clearer on these things, so hopefully that's not really going to be the consistent feeling within the regular playing community. It's just those who are outside of that community, I think, have the issue. So, last couple of points that you get. Ranger outfit from New Vegas that you can wear as the new outfit. It's cool, it looks very, very nice. Is it a big deal? Not really, it's a cosmetic item. Icons and emotes, same thing, fun to have, not really a big deal. Nice to have, that's about it. So, in terms of the cost, it's £12 or roughly similar in dollars or whatever else you may happen to be your local currency for 1 month, and it's a renewing subscription. If you go for 12 months, it is 36%, if I remember rightly, off, which comes down to £100 a year. It's a lot of money, but it's consistent, as I say, with the existing pricing scheme. You're going to have to decide for yourself whether or not it's worthwhile now, and have a look down the line at new perks that are coming in, new changes, as to whether or not it becomes more worthwhile to you later. That's going to be an individual basis thing. Like I say, I haven't even made my mind up on that yet. Paying £100 right before Christmas is not something that appeals to me at all, I have to admit. But beyond that, there are some cool things in here. And as I say, I don't know. I don't think it's the overpriced rip-off that people have been saying it was and the knee-jerk reaction was. But whether or not it's worth it, we'll have to have a bit more time to think about that, I think. Okay, so jumping on and taking a look at the main patch, however, Update 14, everybody gets, irrespective of whether or not you're joining Fallout first or not. We've got the usual bug fixes, which I'm not going to go over in a great deal of detail because there's quite a few of them, and we are getting on a bit now, so let's keep things moving. So, Fallout first, we covered. Mischief Night seasonal event added to the game. It's not actually active yet, but it's included in the patch. So that's your Halloween seasonal event that will be launching on Tuesday. Looks like it should be good fun. We've got some changes to the rewards in Nuclear Winter, some changes to the UI in Nuclear Winter, legendary Scorch Beasts, and more frequent public events, which is cool. So we'll jump past the whole Fallout first thing. Mischief Night. Head to the Springhouse Gazebo at White Springs to meet Jester and Ibot, who will take you on an action-packed tour of the resort during Mischief Night. This comes on Tuesday. Join in the celebration by blowing up cars, lighting bonfires, forking the lawns, or even getting to the spirit of the season with a little trick-or-treating at the White Springs cottages. All that commotion is bound to attract some attention, so keep an eye out for the White Spring Elite Security Force, who may attempt to put an end to the festivities, so presumably robot attacks. Whether or not this is the existing robots or it's additional ones, I don't know. Probably additional ones, but we'll see. Meet Jester's mischief quotas and you'll gain some XP and loot, including a chance for new themed items like costumes, jack-o'-lanterns, and more. So, same as every other seasonal event, in a sense, just with a Halloween theme. Put on your favourite costume to earn double progress towards the event's objectives and unlock exclusive themed rewards. Cool, so do it in a Halloween costume. Costumes include many that you can find or craft in-game, including those you've unlocked in the Atomic Shop and even Fastnack masks. Good to know, that's cool. Mischief Night is a public event that will begin every hour on the hour during the week that it's available. You can read the preview article on fallout.com or catch even more details. So you can also have a look at the video from last week if you'd like to. That'll be available on a card somewhere up here. So, Atomic Shop, loot bag skins. Use these new cosmetic items to replace the appearance of your paper bags in adventure mode when you drop items manually or upon death. Any loot bag skins that are currently available will appear in the new loot bag tab in the skins section of the Atomic Shop. So under skins, basically. Highlight a loot bag skin you've unlocked and then hit equip to apply it to your drop bag, death bag, or both. So you can apply this to do two different things. You can have one for items you drop and one for when you die. Or you can have them both the same, whichever you prefer. It's the same as if you're equipping stuff for Nuclear Winter via the Atomic Shop, basically. And spooky new tunes. Get into the Halloween spirit while you browse the Atomic Shop with some seasonal music. Cool. Design and balance updates. Scorched Beasts now have a chance to spawn as legendary, as if they weren't enough trouble to begin with. That's kind of cool, though. It means you can get legendary items from them. It also means that if you hop over to Fisher sites, there's a good chance of a legendary spawn of a Scorched Beast there, which means you've got another way of getting legendary gear, which we kind of need at the minute, because they have somewhat subtly behind the scenes pulled down the legendary spawn rates, I think, which is a bit frustrating, but we have an additional way to get them via Scorched Beast, which is cool and a little bit terrifying as well. So, Vault 94 rewards via the Vault Raids. Increased ammo crafting and aid item rewards for completing Vault 94 missions. So the biggest off-putting factor to Vault Raids at the moment is the cost in ammo and stim packs to running those particular events. Now you're getting more back when you complete them, which is good. We'll have to see whether or not that's actually enough to make it worthwhile again, but it's a step in the right direction anyway. And weight reductions. This is camp orientated. Bobbleheads, magazines and teddy bears now weigh much less, and you can now basically have more of them in your stash so that when you allocate them to a display case, they take up less of your camp budget. So basically, it's almost an increase in the amount of camp budget you've got, particularly if you're putting these things in place. So that's welcome. It's been a community requested thing over the last few weeks. Very, very pleased to see that. Quests and public events. So, cooldown timer between the start of one public event and the start of the next has been reduced, which is a result of community feedback, basically saying the initial implementation of the cooldown timer was too conservative. We need events spawning more quickly. That's what they're doing. So if you want to do public events, you'll be able to get into them much more quickly now, which is good because they don't pop up often enough as it is. So yeah, I agree with this. Not the biggest fan of the fact that results in more pop-ups on screen, but at the same time, it was too long as it currently stands. So yeah, this is a positive change on the whole. And a couple of UI things, adjustable menu music, so you can now mute the music in the main menu and in the Atomic Shop, something I will definitely be doing because it's copyrighted, which is always a bonus. There's a little change to the way the Atomic Shop confirm purchase window appears, fine. And workbenches, the paint mod slot has been renamed to appearance, okay? Not big, but there they are. Nuclear Winter updates, some Halloween themes. Just going to skip quickly over this, but the gist of it is, we've got new Halloween themed cosmetic rewards, available by completing challenges in Nuclear Winter mode. The color-coded item rarities are quite cool. Basically, you'll see when you pick something up how rare it is, giving you a better idea of how effective it is in Nuclear Winter. Pops up in the menu, in the favorites wheel, and somewhere else as well that I've missed now. Transfer menus, that's the other one. So they go from white through green, blue, purple, and the rarest is orange. and you can toggle this on or off in the settings menu if you'd like to, which is cool. More details available in the Nuclear Winter update post, which is specific to that. If you would like to peruse it, you can find it through this article. But for now, that covers everything we needed. So, a couple of new items going in the game, Super Sledge and the Pole Hook, which is, I don't know, not biggest fan of melee weapons in Nuclear Winter anyway, but there they are. Stealth Boys. The effect provided by Stealth Boys has now been reduced, presumably, to 20 seconds, and if you choose to attack while in stealth, it will disable it altogether. So, good to know. That makes them significantly less powerful. It's a bit of a balance change. Gunrunner now works when shotguns are equipped as well, so that's cool. A couple of UI changes as well that are not particularly stimulating. We've also got some changes to Vault 51 as well. We've got a bit of a Halloween decor put in there as well if you jump into the lobby. So, some fun things in Nuclear Winter. Nothing life-changing, but quite cool. So, bug fixes. As per, we've got quite a large number of bug fixes, which is cool. They're working on these things for Nuclear Winter as well. Some interesting, some not. Some more worth looking at than others. However, the big ones for me, keeping this short and sweet, are as follows. So, graphics. The Vault-Tec University diploma no longer appears to be a portal to another realm when placed upon a wall. Great. Love that tone, but yeah, apparently it was freaking out a bit when you put the Vault-Tec diploma, which is, I believe, a Nuclear Winter reward, on the wall. Now it will work as intended, that's cool. Performance improvements, we're always happy to see, so performance improvement relating to Order of the Tadpole. Implemented an improvement for server optimization, great. Implemented improvements that will help a server shut down more smoothly when it needs to undergo maintenance, cool. Not a particularly frequent occurrence, but great. Implemented additional safeguards against a control lock that could occur when exiting power armor, so they've mostly fixed this. This is just a little bonus behind that as well, so it should be occurring even less frequently. Good. It was one of the most annoying bugs that we had a little while ago, so anything that keeps that even further away, we're happy to see, I think. Addressed a crash that could occur when closing the game client. Great. Addressed multiple issues that could cause a server to crash. Also good. Fixed an issue that could cause a server to crash when saving a character's current position, so that could be a random crash. Welcome. And fixed an issue that could occasionally cause a server to crash when interacting with power armor. Also welcome. So basically, a load of fairly frequent actions that will now not impact the server so much, which is cool. And last but not least, SentryBot gunfire sound effects no longer sometimes loop endlessly. Hell yes, this is I think like the third attempt at fixing this, so I'm going to reserve judgment a little bit. We'll see if it actually works. Apparently this is proving to be somewhat more difficult than you'd think, but fingers crossed. I'll be glad to see the back of that one. It is kind of annoying. So, all in all, a little controversial, this particular update, which is not massively surprising, because anytime you ask for money, people get up in arms. But, yeah, I hope this has given you a bit more information, a bit more detail on Fallout First and its implications, well, its value proposition, I suppose. God, I hate that phrase, but it fits here, I suppose. And also giving you a bit more information on the patch in general. Like I say, not sure for myself yet whether or not it's going to be worthwhile. I need a little bit more time to think about it. Everybody's going to have to decide on their own whether or not it represents something they want to invest in or not. I think the knee-jerk reaction of negativity is well overblown. To be fair, I had the same reaction. Can't criticise too much, but take a deep breath, take a step back, and actually look at it. I mean, whether or not it represents good value to you as an individual or me as an individual is one thing, but in terms of its balance compared to everything else already in the game, it's consistent. So I think that's an important point. I think Bethesda maybe needed a way to make that a bit clearer. I don't know if there is a way they could have done it without seeming overly cynical either, but whether or not it would have been accepted coming from Bethesda is the million-dollar question. But they do need to figure out how they handle this stuff a little better. It's not easy, but you know, there's definitely improvements to be made here. But yeah, I don't think it's as big a deal as it's made out to be. I mean, if you don't want to do it, carry on playing the game as you always have been. It won't make a difference. If you do want to, go ahead. So, yeah. I'm glad I've had a little bit more time on balance to look at this before making this video. I was a bit peeved yesterday that they put it out on a Wednesday, which is, normally they do Tuesdays and Thursdays, and they picked the one day of the week that I wasn't home, so woo! But there we go. So, I've been rambling for quite long enough. I do hope you guys have found this useful and informative, and hopefully it's put you a little bit more at your ease. Certainly, on balance, I'm feeling a little better about it than I was yesterday. So, if you did like this video or you found it useful, please do consider hitting a like for me. It's very, very much appreciated. And if you're enjoying the content generally, subs are always appreciated as well. Find those buttons in the usual places. And if you're really enjoying what I do, please do consider becoming a channel member as well. The support is massively helpful and massively, massively appreciated. You can find a few more details of the perks down in the description as well. As always, do join the live streams as well. They're a bit all over the place at the moment. The Outer Worlds is coming this evening. Should be streaming that tomorrow night. Look out for a video on that probably tomorrow morning. Very, very excited for that. So I hope you guys will join me for that. For now, thank you very much for watching. I do hope you enjoyed, and I look forward to speaking to you all very, very soon.